We'd like to dedicate our Torah study to Brenda Waters, to Garrett Mattlage and Jordan Mattlage, to Cody Lovejoy, to the patients at Texas Oncology, to Brooke Gibson, to Paul Navarez, to Amber Gibson's daughter Paul, to Michelle Magnuson, to Miriam's father, to the people of the Ukraine, to Jerry Seaman, to Berea Wanstaff, to Rob Hamer, to Greg Davis and his family, Holly Harris and her family, R.C. Upmore and her family, and all the families affected in West. We will, due to the West tragedy, we will probably, after the 17th, we will take those off because that will be a full 12 months, as is known. To Debbie and Stephen and Brandon Matus, to Russell Kirk, to the folks at the Naval Base, to the folks at Fort Hood, Moore, Oklahoma, Granbury, Texas, the people involved in the mudslide up in the Midwest, up in the Northwest, people in the Philippines, Blake Highland, Lennon Baker, David Douglas, Rosalind Bodilis, Noelle Cardoza, who her husband just called me, Charles David, Bill Kirk, Edward Hubson, Natalie Compton, Casey Belize, David Scott, Levi Lester, Brandon Givens, and Nadie Freeman. And Hashem, we just ask that the merit of our study and the merit of our Torah be given to them. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and that you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, that they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you, and may you listen to our utterances and open our closed hearts to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before you in your place of honor, as an aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see the wonders from your Torah. Because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. That's the prayer of the Ari. That's the whenever we get into the Zohar and we start dealing with real deep oral secret learnings, that's the prayer that the Ari says that before you study that type of material that you should know. And so we follow what we've been told. All right. Last week was the movie. We all went to see Noah, and so what we're going to do this week. Come on in. Come on in, huh? Got your spot right there, dog. Not much. Because Passover starts Monday, and there won't be a whole lot of work between Rabbi and myself, and a lot of things going on next week. Next Wednesday, let's do our critiques on the movie, and I want your critiques to come from this point of view. Kabbalistically, what did you see? Not did I like the movie, not this wasn't right, not they didn't follow the Torah, they didn't follow the Peshat, they didn't follow the storyline. None of that matters. What consciousness was brought in to the world that wasn't previously here.
Always here.
As far as to the viewing public that doesn't know anything.
Oh, okay.
All right. From a basic non-Torah individual, what consciousness do they have to think about? All right.
Go see it a third time.
And so we'll discuss it from that point of view, from a Kabbalistic point of view, and I think we'll get some interesting takes on on some things that happened. All right. So where we are now. In our Torah, is the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were closed. Well, we can back up. And God caused His Spirit to pass over the earth, and the water subsided. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were closed, and the rain from heavens was restrained. Then the waters receded upon the earth, receding continually, and the waters diminished at the end of 150 days. And the ark came to rest in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Arad. The waters were continuously diminishing until the 10th month, and in the 10th month, on the 1st of the month, the tops of the mountains became visible. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark from which he had made, and he sent out a raven, and it kept going and returning until the waters dried upon the earth. Then he sent out a dove, and we probably won't get that far. All right. Now, there's a lot of somebody needs to mute. Stacy, you need to mute your microphone.
Where is it?
It's by your name. It's a little microphone.
It's by your name in the little box. There you go. All right. So, things to think about: the fountains of the deep, the windows of heaven. We've gone through those. Heavens were closed. And then it goes to rain. So how does it go from all that now to rain? Because remember, it started with rain. So it has to go back in the reverse process. All right? Then the waters receding upon the earth. Then it says receding continually. Well, why does it have to be redundant? And it diminished at the end of 150 days. What's 150 days? Well, we've kind of discussed that, but we're looping it back around. Mm-hmm. And the ark came to rest. What is rest? All right? That's significant. The 7th of the month. What's the 7th of the month? What's the 17th day of the month? What does that have to do? It's not where are the mountains of Ararat. It's what are the mountains of Ararat. Significant. The waters were continuously diminishing. He's still going about the waters are going down. And now it's the 10th. And then in the 10th month, so it's on the 10th, and then it's in the 10th month. On the 1st, now we're back at the 1st of the month. The tops of the mountains became visible. And we've all talked about the mountains and the hills and all these things. All right, so we're going to cover that ground. And we're going to cover it. We're going to cover it slowly. But I'm going to read a quick thing on the raven to get us thinking. And then I'm going to read a quick thing on the Shlah that's going to be our overview for the day. And then we're going to go back into the Peshat and we're going to cover the Sod. So what we're going to do, we're going to do Peshat, Remez, Drash, Sod. We're going to run the Pardes. It's my thinking. Although we're not going to go through a lot of gematrias and stuff like that. All right, so, because he sent out a raven and it kept going and returning until the waters dried up from the earth. If anybody has read the story of Ezekiel or in the book Russell's teaching, you see this term running and returning. Running and returning. It's all through the Torah. Running and returning. What's going on with running and returning? This is the Hashmal. It's as stated in inner space. What is the Hashmal? It's the Noga. Okay? So, because Noahides are the Noga, we need to learn. We need to figure out what's going on in the ark. What's going on with the ark? Now that everything is subsiding, what is being reestablished? And how is it being reestablished? He's recreating creation. We've already had a Passover. The water in the Spirit of God passed over the face of the deep. Well, now back here, the Spirit of God has passed over the waters once again. So we know we went from the fallout of Berea, Siracea, back up to Berea, and enclosed and with the garment of Atzilut, the light garment of Atzilut, and we're going to have to figure out, this is what Shem and Japheth were doing when they covered their father. That's the garment of Atzilut. So we're gonna navigate, circumvent all through that serpentine, like the serpent. All right. So let's. This is I'm gonna start from the, because the end is looped in the beginning. I'm gonna start from the end, and then we're gonna have a little brain teaser. And he sent out a raven. Master of the world, said Noah. Master of the world, said Noah, I know you are merciful. You did not have mercy on your children, like the raven, who is cruel to its young. And he sent out the raven as a hint. He sent out a raven. The raven gave Noah a devastating retort. Your master hates me and hates you. And your master hates me and you hate me. Your master hated me, for from the clean creatures he took 7 of each into the ark. But from the unclean, in which I am included, only 2. You hate me, for you leave the species of 7 and take a species of 2, and you are sending me out of the ark, when I am only 1 of 2. Should the angel of heat or cold attack me, will the world not be short one of its species? Or perhaps you desire my mate. This is a bird talking to a man. Wicked one, said Noah, even my wife, who is ordinarily permitted to me, is now forbidden to me, for marital relations were forbidden on the ark, which is what Ham did not abide to, which is what caused the whole problem. How much more so is your mate, which is always forbidden to me? Now, why are they having this conversation? What does a raven have to do with the story? And why does he think Noah wants his mate?
Because the raven was one of the animals that had sex on the ark.
Okay, the raven had sex on the ark. All right? Deeper. Let the Torah lay on top of itself. What does did the raven lie? Did the raven say anything that was wrong? Let me ask you this. Did the serpent say anything that was wrong to Eve?
No.
No. He just asked her. Did he not say? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what? I just gave you the hint. So what's going on here?
Sets up a twisted question to make one defensive.
The raven is the nakash.
Thank you, Russell. The raven is the aspect of the nakash. And what is he questioning Noah about? Who is Noah? Not what is Noah. Who is Noah?
He's Hava.
Huh?
Is it Hava? Is he talking to Hava or is he talking to Adam?
Adam.
He's Adam.
He's Adam.
Okay.
He's Adam's Yesod.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct? What did Adam do with the first Hava? Not the second Hava.
Oh, the first.
Oh.
With Lilith.
Lilith. What happened? He mated with her. What is the raven saying to him? You want my wife.
You want Lilith.
Yes. You see what's going on? The story of Adam in the garden and creation is replaying itself out. This is the first iteration. This is Sam talking to Adam. We can call it the raven talking to Noah. And they're discussing Lilith. And it's all the heavy guvarot. So what does Noah want to do? He wants to get rid of the guvarot. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Sending the raven out again.
He knows exactly what he's doing. He's doing the tikkun. He's fixing it. Y'all see how the puzzles of the pieces of the puzzle are navigating.
So the raven represented Guvro?
Yeah. Raven is black.
Black.
All right, and they only brought 2 of the unclean. That's the side of Guvra. Right? All right. So keep that in your mind. Keep that story in your mind, because where do we see the raven show up? Wait, huh? Lonnie?
He's Elijah.
When they feed Elijah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It
gotcha.
eats the bread. Or the
It brings the bread.
Brings him bread. What's bread? Hesed. How come the raven is feeding Elijah? What's going on? Who is Elijah? Not what is Elijah. Who is Elijah?
Son to father.
He's Sandalphon, which is which is what?
The lower aspect.
The lower aspect of
Metatron.
Of Metatron. Who's the upper aspect of Metatron? A Catriel, which is who? Noah's grandfather, Enoch.
Okay, yeah, Enoch.
And so what you have the upper, you have the Keter, you have the Malchut. What's in the center? It's nothing but Yesod. Who's Yesod? Noah. So you have to have the Guvarot expelled from Yesod, so it's not contaminated. But then at the bottom, it's nothing but Guvarot. And the raven gets to do its tikkun.
So the raven is doing tikkun for this.
Yes.
With Elijah.
Yes, it's the same story.
Yeah.
All right, so that's how the Torah works. So now, what we're going to do, we're going to continue in our overview. Last week, we discussed the people that were born circumcised. Adam, Seth, Noah, Moshe. And I said there's a fifth.
Yes.
And this, Russell know it when I say it. Balaam. Which puts a whole new twist on the story of what's going on with Balaam. Because Balaam is the backside of Da'at of Moses. Moses is the front side of Da'at. Balaam is the backside. All right. So I knew there had to be a fifth, because there always has to be 5. 5 commandments on each side.
Yeah,
5 hands, 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 and 5. Okay. Now, I'm going to read through this. Some of it's in Hebrew, and I'm just going to skip over those Hebrew words, and because what we're fixing to see here is the flow of the Torah from Noah to David as it pertains to the story of Noah. And then we're gonna because we just went there with Elijah, and now we're fixing to go there with David, and then we're going to come back and then we're going to fill in the spaces from the Rondu. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Let us return to Noah, who was kind that got his original inspiration from above, whereas Abraham got his inspiration from below upwards. Moses ascended to the point where he became, what we're going to call it, Yesod Abba. Both Noah and Moses spent time in an ark. There is a world of difference between Noah's Ark and the one Moses placed in. However, before we explain, we have to know the meaning of the word arks. Zohar says, talking about Proverbs 18:10, the name of the Lord is a tower of strength. The righteous runs toward it and is elevated. The tower is always an ark. So what were they doing at Babel? Building an ark. What were they doing in Babylon? Building an ark. All right? The tower is a reference to an ark, and the righteous is referred to Noah. While on the subject, I shall also explain the difference between the world in Samuel and an alternative reading in the same, both in Samuel and Psalms. Now he goes into explaining that there are three finds. God has three finds. One, in Noah found grace in God's eye, and he found Abraham. He found his heart. Abraham's heart was trustworthy, and it says, and he found David, and he found David. All right, Psalms 89:21. I have found my servant David, for he had found grace, for he had found Israel, as we know from Hosea 9:10. I found Israel like grapes in the desert. All right, and I'm gonna skip on down because we're gonna get into it a little further. Let's see here. Now, the tower of strength, which Zohar describes as an ark, refers to three separate levels. It symbolizes three dominions: a lower level, a middle level, an upper level. Or we can say Asiya, Yetzirah, and Berea. Or we can say right column, left column, center column. Right? Or we could say Orphim, Chayot, Seraphim, level of the angels, or whatever. But this is how he's bringing it down. He said the lowest level contained a lot of garbage, comparable to our world. The middle level contained the animals, understood to symbolize the world of creatures that fly, which we know the things that fly are talking about things in the expansion of the heavens, which are angels. Let the water swarm with living creatures and the birds fly over the earth. These are expansions of the heavens themselves. The angels who fly in the residence thereof. This is referring to specifically Archangel Michael, as we're told in Isaiah 6:6, one of the seraphim who flew over me with a live coal. The second time this word occurs, it's talking about the Archangel Gabriel in Daniel 9:21, and the man Gabriel was lifted in flight. The third and highest level of accommodation of the ark was reserved for man, who is the foundation of the universe. So basically in the ark, all the animals were on the bottom, all the angels were in the middle, and man, because man is now elevated to above the angels at the level of creation, which he originally started, he lived in the top. All right, which makes sense. All the animals are in Asiya, all the angels are in Yetzirah, and man is reestablishing creation, Berea, and he created him in his image and likeness. Image, in his form, likeness is like the garment of light. All right, because once he fell, he had to say, and he formed him in his image. He didn't use the word likeness anymore. All right, okay. Now, so the third and highest level is reserved for man, foundation universe. Seeing that the image of Jacob is engraved on God's throne, concerning all three levels of the ark. Let's see here. Now, the ark was to be as much a spiritual sanctuary as it was a physical sanctuary. The window Noah was instructed to place in the ark was the hint that Noah should ascend from the bottom up. whereas a spiritual, but he failed in mastering this challenge. As a result, and so according to the symbolism, David's task was to rescue mankind from the effects of the Tower of Babel. And this is why we see the same type of spelling in the book of Samuel. The results of God's dispersing the people who had built the tower was to create 70 nations. All right? Because if they are creating a tower, they are creating an ark. If they are creating an ark, they are making a malchut. If they are making a malchut, they are constructing 70. All right? And this is the way it works. We're just going to use Yesod here for an example. He and his name. Yesod, Noah, and the ark. Jacob and Rachel. Okay? Jew and Gentile. We're the 70. We have nothing of our own. Malchut is black. It has nothing of its own. It's empty. It has no light. That's why you have to have a rabbi. Because they are the light to the world. It can't work any other way. Why? Look at for instance, Abraham had Eleazar. Moses had Jethro. The Canaanite had Luz.
You talking about Runa?
No, the Canaanite that guarded the city of Luz.
With Joshua?
No, before that. In Genesis.
Okay.
David had Arona. Solomon had Hiram. And Noah had Og attached to the ark. Because the Noga is attached to the Malchut. Because that's the Priya. So, as we said before, the whole thing of Noah's ark was a circumcision of Adam. Adam was born circumcised. The only thing that fell out was his Yesod and Malchut. So when you cut off the orla, the foreskin, that is the klipa, that is all the angelic nephilim and everything that produced itself from the contamination from the light of Lilith that pulled over the Yesod of Adam. So the parts of the circumcision are the milah, the cutting off, but then the priya, which is pulling back or pulling up. Okay? So what happens? So what happens to the noga? It gets pulled up. So if the Gentile is the noga and all the klipa is gone, which is the secret of 70, which is the secret of sod, which is the secret of wine, which is the gematria of Gog and Magog, when that's cut off, what's elevated? The noga. Because of the circumcision, it has to be pulled up to make it kosher. So, that is the elevation, the resurrection, if you will, of the Noahide. That now it's in the central column. All right? So that's why each one of these men in the Torah had to have that guy. When the Noga is the Noga can oscillate. When it's evil, it's Og, king of Bashan. And we know Og is also Eleazar. When it's on the side of holiness, it's Eleazar, it's the righteous Gentile.
That's because the Nogas touches both sides. It touches the klipa and it touches
the
holiness.
inner and the outer.
When you talk about running back and forth, it's back and forth to the klipa and then to holiness.
You're getting it.
Huh?
You're getting it. You're getting it. Okay, so now remember, there's nothing here but he and his name. Right? Zeron Pin and the Nukva. Right? He and his name. He and his name. He and his name. So what is everybody's problem in religion? They have a problem with what is God's name. What were the people of the generation of the Tower of Babel trying to do?
Manipulate his name.
Manipulate his name. Manipulate his name.
He's still trying to do that.
So what did he do? He scattered everybody so they couldn't manipulate his name. Measure for measure, as we're fixing to find out. If you're separating from me, I'm separating you. So, how did Noah build the ark? He used the name. How did Moses do everything he did? Kill the Egyptian, part the sea, do all the stuff he did? He used the name. How did he kill Og? Use the name. 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 How do you make a golem? You use the name. Because the name and the cantations is what's here. He and his name. So if you call the name of God something that it's not, pick a deity. That's why they use the term Hashem, Havayah, Adonai, Elohim, because those are formulas of the name. You can't mess that up. Follow me? As a result of the dispersion of the people who had built the tower, was to create 70 nations. And it will be the task of the Messiah, i.e. David incarnate, to repair the damage caused that the tower was built. He will conquer all those nations and he alone will rule. We find an allusion to this when the people of the generation of the tower justified themselves by saying, let us make a name for ourselves. We also find it said when David said, David made a name for himself. He's sewing it up. And we also appreciate this when our sages talk about Betzael, who understood the mysteries of the combinations of the letters to make the temple and all of its stuff. Remember, he said, use Betzael. He knows how to make everything. He used the names. They just put the gold in and he said the name and it came out. They didn't chisel any of that. You want to know how they built the pyramids? They knew the names. They didn't build those pyramids. That's why they can't figure it out. That's why they're perfect. Because who are the children of Adam and Lilith? There's 4 generations of them. The generation of the flood, the generation of Babel, Sodom and Gomorrah, and Egypt. They all knew the names. They all knew what they were doing. Their heavy guvarot, they pulled it over to this side. That's what they got, because what does it say? They got corrupt during the time of Enosh because they were perverting the name. Where'd they learn that? From the Nephilim. We've learned that already. That's where they got all that from. So Og, there's actually a name Ogiel. There's actually an Og angel, which is why you see that whole dispensation of Og from Noah all the way to Moses. It's a thing. It's not a person. Let it be on the Peshat. All right? But it's what we find is this thing keeps perpetuating itself. In the time of Enosh, then they began to profane the name of the Lord. And they no longer used his name for holiness but desecrated. And they profaned the name. This is why in the commandments it says, thou shalt not take my name in vain. They were using, the men of old were using the name in the time of the deluge to manipulate the universe. That's why God had to go down and wipe out the Tower of Babel, because if they succeeded, there would be nothing that they could not do, because they had the name.
Yeah.
All right? And this is also blaspheming the name of God, because what is it? It's the shattering of the vessels. Because the name, Malchut, Shem, the name, is the shattering of the vessels. That's why Noah's son that fixed everything, who is Melchizedek, or Melchizedek, Malchi, Malchut, Tzaddik, Yesod, named him Shem, the name. He's reestablishing the whole deal. Just in that formula. Okay? So where did Abraham go? He went to the name. The tents of Shem and Aber. You see how it's all? Now, Noah built the ark employing the combination of the letters. He used God's name to do so, because it was equivalent to the holy temple. As in the verse of Proverbs. He demonstrates that the letters of the ineffable name were manipulated in this manner, which enabled Noah to build the ark according to its measurements reported in the Torah. Even when the generation of the tower set out to build the tower saying, we want to make a name for ourselves, they still meant to serve God with respect. That part of their intention was good. Their sin consisted in wanting to isolate God's name. They wanted clear separation between earth and heaven. So, he scattered the people all over the earth and gave them their principle, measure for measure. Just as they tried to separate God from themselves, so God separated them from each other. Now, David wanted to reverse this process, because he is Malchut, right? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Aaron, Joseph, D for David. David is, Malchut's the kingdom. Who's the king of the kingdom? David. So David wants to revert the process. He always tried to involve God in everything he did on earth. And what did he want to do? Build him an ark, which we know is the sanctuary, the holy temple. He wanted to build a permanent abode on earth, thereby to reverse the separation between man and God. And all men will go to the temple and worship God, and everyone will know his name. Everyone will know his what? His shame. Right? You see what's happening with the whole thing. Because the Song of Songs says the Tower of David built as an ornament. The Tower of the Ark built as an ornament. And the temple was the structure that all mankind was meant to turn to as a symbol of God's presence on earth. Despite David's intentions and endeavors, God's ultimate sanctuary has not been built on earth. The structure built by human hands will not endure. The Psalm says, Psalm 127:1, if God himself does not build the house, the laborers build it in vain. So, what is going on? We know that every time God emanates his light and he creates a crust, he pushes out to the end of himself, then he pulls back the tzimtzum. Then when he goes back through, it's breaking. It's breaking at that point, the da'at. And when it goes through da'at, it becomes yesod. Okay? So, I'll go this way. It's da'at, but when it goes through, it's yesod. So, what's happening? Boom. Akudim. Boom. Nekudim. Shattering of the vessels. 7 kings of Edom. Okay? So he comes back. So now our point's out here. Boom. He comes through Noah and his uncovering. He comes back. Boom. The tower. Boom. Abraham. Boom. Babylon. Boom. Egypt. It just keeps going. Okay? Because that's how God grows. He can't grow, but he does it despite himself. But where is he going? Inside. Because he's everywhere. All Malchuts are in the middle. So everything is going into the center. God's turning himself inside out. Alright? And every time he pushes through himself, it appears to implode. First temple. Second temple. The Holocaust. That's what's going on. So, but what's he doing? He's trying to get to the final tip end point, and then all the guvarot, all the heavy tohu guvarot aspect is now going to be on the inside. It's going to be mitigated, and death will be gone forever. That's where he's trying to push himself to. And at that time, the world will once begin spelled plainly, and the time when the Torah could still be whatever this Hebrew term here is. It's a big long word. It's a big long sentence. The reason Israel is mentioned last in these finds, contrary to chronological order, is that Israel will truly fulfill its function. Only then will Israel truly be a find. And he found Noah, and he found Moses, he found David, he found Israel. Yud, Hey, Bob, Hey. Now, this is what these three finds so far are the three attributes of the garments of woven light. Asiya, Yitzira, Berea, Atzil. All right, because when we get the final find, the Malchut, which is the crown, the kingdom, will now be on the Keter, and the king will have his crown. And the sages say that you will recline in the world to come with your crowns in your heads. All right? So, these garments of woven light. At this time, all trees will not only bear fruit, but produce wood that tastes like that fruit. Why? No klipa. Right? From the original light to restore it to this world like this. We see this as Israel, when they went across the desert, their clothing, their garments did not wear out. And they ate manna. Right? You see, it had all switched back to the way it was supposed to be. We're not talking shirts and sandals, we're talking garments of light. Right? And heavenly food. All right? The first step in restoring man to these garments was that he ought to be wearing was taken by Noah's two sons when they covered their father. Because the Guvarot had tried to strip that garment. Right? And so they're trying to cover him back up with that holy garment. All right? But what do we know about Adam's garment? Who ended up with it? Ham. Who gave it to whom? Nimrod.
And Esau killed Nimrod and took it from him.
And who ended up with it? Jacob. Joseph coat of many colors.
Yes.
Joseph coat of many colors. See how it all came back to the center line. Because who is Joseph? Yesod. Who has to have the garment? Yesod. Right? And what does Joseph have to do? He has to go to Egypt.
Go into the toe.
To go into the
klipa.
To the final klipa of the generation of the primordial fall.
Right.
And retrieve all the fallen sparks, which we now know were the Hebrews in the nation of Israel. And he had to take the garment with him. And he had to get the seven sciences that fell out on that side. All right? And retrieve the names. That's why he learned every language What did Gabriel teach him when he was there? 70 languages. Why? He had to pick up all the names, pick up all the pieces, all the nitzotzot that they had fallen and stolen. So, Noah himself had begun repairing this damage in this process done by Adam in the area of the flood. When Jacob prayed that God would give him bread to eat and clothes to wear, he is referring to this light and this food, not earthly food and earthly clothing. Because Noah had commenced the process of repairing the damage of the production of food caused by Adam, he was given the right to improve his diet, that mankind after him, that he was allowed to eat meat in his diet. Why? Because he had to elevate it. Right? So his son Shem, who began repairing the damage of this kind of clothing man was allowed to wear, married, that his descendants, Israel, would wear the four-cornered garments. The tzitzit. And could ignore the prohibition of mixing wool and linen, because this prohibition goes back to Cain and Abel, which was linen and wool, and symbolized their strife. The people of Israel kept rising higher to spiritual levels until they qualified for that food of heavens, which we now know as manna, which was then destroyed by the sin of the golden calf that Adam had worn before the sin. So, I wanted to go through that because now we're applying this to Noah, because now we see what's going on. We see how Noah extends all the way to David. It extends all the way to Elijah. David with the dispersion of Babel, which came from the ark with Ham, and see, he couldn't curse Ham because Ham is Guvarot, but Hod was his son Canaan. All right, so Noah cursed, we'll call it Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, because nothing else existed unless you want to say their wives. But once he had kids, because her feet descend to death. Hod. All right, so he had to curse the lowest point, which was that, and so that heavy guvarot, that tohu, then manifested itself once again with the Tower of Babel. And then it manifested itself with Sodom and Gomorrah. And so what does Abraham do? He's brilliant. His son, all right, he sent the first son, Ishmael, away because he's going to be contaminated, right? Because the first is always contaminated, all right? So what does he do? He binds up Isaac so he can't get contaminated, all right? But he has a son called Esau, and so Esau takes on that personification of the tohu. You know, and Jacob's on this side, and now it's the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot. All right, so that's how we take the Torah and overlap it onto itself. So here's what happens. Each of us are required to build our own ark. All right? We have to build our own ark with Israel because they're the light to the world. We have to build our relationship with our rabbi because he's Yesod, we're Malchut. When we do that, we've built an ark. When we built an ark, what do we get? The garment of light. See? That's what goes on. That's why it says that everyone will that it's in the future. What will every man do? They will grab a hold the hem of the garment of a Jew, the hem of the garment, the light, the hem of that light, and say, "You have the truth."
Or the tzitzit, which is
yes, which is this original garment that Adam had, because they are the qualifiers of it. All right, so once that, and that is the Shekhinah. That is her presence. All right? The lower Shekhinah. And then you're taken the lower Shekhinah, who is Rachel, who's the revealed, up in the ark above the hills onto the mountains
Bina.
of Bina, who is Leah, who is the concealed. That's why, and God had to remember Noah, because he was concealed within him. Elohim had to remember Noah. Why? Because he's inside. He's away from the destruction. All right? And so, what is the Malchut of Bina? Eden. Gan Eden. Malchut Yesod. Gan Eden. Gan Eden. Gan Eden. Where? Here. How do you merit that? Your ark. Everything has to fit in Torah. How did Adam fix it? With the ark. How did Abraham fix it? Circumcision. That's the ark. Then Moses was in an ark on the Nile. Then he made an ark. Then the Mishkan. Every time they had the Mishkan, that's the ark. And he went inside the cloud. What's the cloud? The cloud's the Shekhinah. That's his covering. That's why he could go in. Because he's making union. He's Yesod, she's Malchut. Moses had to get rid of his wife. Because he had to marry the Shekhinah. He's now entering the Shekhinah. You see? It's the same thing. So, that's why you have to get married, be fruitful, multiply. You're creating your ark. And you're creating expansion through your children and family or whatever to create more arks because God's expanding. All right? Then, when you die, you have put on the garment. And especially when you do what we're trying to do and connect with Israel, who's the source of the light, not saying, oh, we don't need them, we got our own light, we got it figured out by ourselves, we know what's going on. We make our own religion. We'll put a steeple on our building and make our own Tower of Babel. And we'll call God by our own name that we want to use. Yeah. Well, it didn't turn out very well for those guys throughout the Tanakh. All right. So, the water. Where are we at? All right, let's go a little bit here. Water. As we know, it can be din or hesed, depending. Okay? When dinning becomes strengthened, they are doing so because of the supernal root of Guvarot, the 42-letter name. That is why they are called Malbul, or the flood. The word for flood is Mabul. Membet, 42. Hesed, 72. So, this is I kind of put this on play on words. We are doing some gematria here. We are doing a little remnants. All right. So, if we take the 72 name times 3 is 216. Is Rio, which I kind of thought the Rio Grande, Resh Yud Vav. This is the same formula that is written Moses that he recites when he uses to split the sea. If y'all remember in that Parsha, if you read it this way, it's 72 names, and then the next verse you read, it's 72 name that way, and then the next verse, it's a 72 name this way. And so he used 3 times 72, which was the formula, to split the sea. All right? And they walked across on dry land. What is dry land?
Not to be clip on it, or?
Yeah, no clip on it. All right. We're dealing with the same story.
Well, it was an.
Yeah. Okay. But let's go back to Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And God saw that the earth was corrupt. The land.
Mm-hmm.
What caused it to be corrupt?
Spilling the seed.
Spilling a seed. So when Moses took them across, he took them across on dry land.
Mm.
Follow me?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
uncontaminated land.
No spilling of the seed. No spilling of the seed, no evil, no wickedness. Doesn't exist. Much more going on in the whole Moses Passover story. That's the sort of Passover, but
Right, yeah.
because Passover is a circumcision. They put the blood on the door. What's the door? The Malchut. And in the Noah story, and Hashem shut the door of the ark. And what did he tell Moses? Go in the house and don't come out, and put blood on it. Circumcision. It's always about the ark. They were in the ark. And the flood, the death angel, could pass you by. And the Spirit of God caused His Spirit to pass over the earth. That's in the ark story. Same iterations. See, we're dealing with iterations. Alright? So, this whole word here, Yavor, caused. He caused His Spirit. It's 2:16, which is the 3 times 72. So what he's doing here, if you take this word, Yavor, it equals 288. 288. This is the what did he do? He just did tikkun for the rapak, the shattering of the vessels of the lights of rapak. Right? This is the 216 plus the 72 name is 288. So he fixed the rapak. So now we're back to Nicodemus. This is the Passover. Pretty neat, huh? Now, it literally means to jump over. You know? Now the 288 is din, right? But the 72 name is in it. And now it's not. And now it's mitigated. Because when you put Hesed in, when din into Hesed, it's not Guvarot anymore. I mean, when you put Hesed into Guvarot, it's not unmitigated Guvarot anymore. You know? She's calmed down. You know? And so, the water, and then what's the next verse? And God caused His Spirit to pass over the earth, and the water subsided. You see the formula? Caused, pass over, the rapak, Hesed, into the heavy Guvarot, and the next verse, and the water's kind of calmed down. Alright? The formula's in there, even in the equation, and its action, and its reaction. It's all right there. Now, the water subsided. The Spirit of God. This is the Ruach of His Hesed. The Spirit, the Ruach of His Hesed. Elohim here is Bina, which contains Hesed, her Hesed, rather than the Malchut of Bina, which is all Din. Okay? So in other words, if she moves forward, she's got to pull back. Right? Anything that goes forward to its extent, it's got to come back. Alright? Even Guvarot. Alright? The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven. Closed. This word here is usually called Sagor, with a gimel. But here, it's spelled Sachor, because it alludes to the battle with the Din forces that the Gimel is working on. Now, the word Sachor, gematria, is 280. The heavy Din, the par. It is pulling it back into its sheath, so to speak. The din is going out from Bina, which is that heavy, destructive din, and now it's being pulled back. So this is what is meant by the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were closed. Because we know that this is the fountains of the deep and this is the windows of heaven. Rachel, Leah, the two Malchuts, put So this whole thing is being put back into its sheath because of the hesed that's there. Because Abba and Ima are always in union. Because who set this one out? Who set out the flood?
Oh, well.
Zeranpin. Zeranpin comes back in the picture. Everybody's happy. Son came home from college. Mama's happy. Sister's happy. Everybody's happy. Because when son's gone to college, mom and sister about to kill each other. And everybody involved. Right? So, that den goes back to his place. The rain. The term here is literally this word, and the rain from heaven was restrained. The term restrained here is literally the term for put back into prison. Like put back into prison or put into prison. The den has been put into prison. The waters are put back into their root through the Hesed. What has happened? An ultimate zivug. Why? Because he's recreating everything. Adam and Eve are now back as one. And the waters receded continually for continuously 150 days. Remember the 150 days? These are the 5 states of Den. This is on the 7th month of Tishri. This is the 7th month in Tishri. The mountains of Ararat, the ark rested on the 7th month on the 17th day. Why rest? Because rest is the zivug that's going on, the union that's going on. This is the Shabbat. But Noah's name means rest. Because see, look, remember, when we had Menachem, Noah's real name, Mem and Mem, 40 days, 40 nights, the 2 Mems, all right? The open Mem and the closed Mem. And now Noah is there. It's a zivug. And Jacob had 2 wives, Rachel and Leah. See the iteration? And the ark itself, we know, is Malchut. It is being activated. No rest until the Hesed is revealed. This is the active role of Hesed. Why the mountains of Ararat? Ararat indicates the levels of the harsh din. This is the level of Bina. Ararat is Bina, is the level of Bina. Because it's going through an all-new creation process. On Tishri, what happened in the 7th month? Tishri, Rosh Hashanah. Who was formed on Rosh Hashanah? Adam and Eve. The story all over again. And the ark rested on the 7th month. Because who's in the ark? Noah. Who's in Eve? Adam. As in union. See? It's playing out just perfect. Noah and the ark. There was no separation. 17 days. You break it down into 10 and 7. 10 days from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. And then he says it skips the 4 days, but it's the 7 days of Sukkoth. Because during that time they're having their zivug. Right? So that's concealed. So you don't look at that. So you have 10 and 7. So it's on the 17th of the month. Now, the mountains of Den, the mountains of judgment. Now, I'm going to draw y'all a picture here.
Use the marker.
Marker.
The blue marker. Use that blue marker right there.
I'll use this.
Javier.
There you go.
That works too.
Here's our mountain. Okay. Y'all are gonna love this. Now, if you remember, Stacy, thank you. If you remember, if we have, let me see, do I have it even written up here? There's the Nahi, there's the Hagat, I don't have it up here. I need to write it. Habad. Now, so y'all know what these are. Habad, Hesed, Bina, Da'at. Habad. The, you know,
The head or?
you put them together. You know, if I'm talking about this level, I call it Habad. H for Hesed, B for Bina, D for Da'at. Habad. Okay? If I'm talking about this level, I call it Hagat. Hesed, Guvarot, Teferet. Hagat. Okay? If I'm talking about this level, I call it Nahi. Netzach, Yesod, Hod. The Nahi. Alright? Now, so we are reconstructing Adam. Right? We are reconstructing Atzilut here. And so, let's read it. And the waters receded upon the earth, receding continuously. And the waters diminished at the end of 150 days. Bina. Alright? And the ark came to rest in the 7th month, on the 7th day, upon the mountains of Arad. These are the mountains. These are the hills. And Zeranpin, David, writing about the Shekhinah, Solomon writing about the Shekhinah, his heart goes leaping upon the hills. Song of Songs. Right? Alright? When the waters receded, on the 7th month, it revealed Habad. Because the 7 are there, the 7th month. Alright?
Okay.
Then on the 10th on the 10th month, on the 10th of the month, diminished until the 10th of the month, it reveals Hagat, which is, we have Habad, all this. There's 10. Why is there 10? Because here's the ark. That's why it was on the 10th of the month. Receding, can see the waters going down. And the days are indicating what is being revealed. Does that make sense? All right? And in the 10th month, that's the 10th month, right? On the 1st, because it's singular, on the 1st of the month, the tops of the mountains became visible. It just showed you the progression of the renewing of the entire Shironic structure. The dates allude to what it's revealing.
Would that be like Beradine, that's where everywhere it's...
Or you could say Beradine, Yetzirah, Berea, Yetzirah, Asiya. Or You could say Neshama, Ruach, Nefesh. Doesn't matter. Or you could say Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It doesn't matter. However you want to slice it. You know? However you want to slice it.
Which one is not what you're looking at? It's where you're looking for.
Yeah, or you could say Ima, Zah, and Nukva. Or you could say Elohim. It doesn't matter. So the progression of time here is a progression of Sirach structure. I just wanted to make out. I'm not a very good artist with my mountain there, because the mountain is not a mountain. It's that. All right, because we're recreating creation. So, are they going to find the ark? I doubt it. They can look in Turkey all they want.
You're talking about Noah's Ark.
I'm talking about Noah's Ark in Turkey in the Ararat Mountains. Yeah, yeah,
We know where the Ark is.
yeah. That's their. That's a wild raven chase instead of a wild goose chase. Okay. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days. Why not 40 days and 40 nights? 40 days is Hesed, 40 nights is Guvarot. Ain't no more. Light, darkness. Hesed, Guvarot. Didn't need no 40 nights. 40 nights are implied. They're contained. If you've got 40 days, how many nights you got?
39.
At least.
I knew you were going to say
Oh,
Yeah.
you did.
But they're contained. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You don't have to indicate the struggle. And Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent out a raven, and kept it going and returning until the waters had dried upon the earth.
How many times? Do we know how many times it was sent out?
Yeah. I think I got that.
We'll go back to the days and nights. Considering that they count evening first. It's kind of
Mm-hmm. So there's
revert.
40. Because evening
Evening
and
first.
morning, one day. Not the first day, one day. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5. Well, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day, 6 day, 7 day. Okay. Now, we just had a good question. Why is it 40 days? Why was it 40 to begin with? Why was it 40 days and 40 nights? Mem and Mem. What's the numerical value of Mem?
40.
40. So why 40 days? 40 days of Hesed. No nights, no din. Noah opened up the window of the ark. And why did he wait till 40 days? After he saw the tops of the mountains. Just as it took 40 days for din to increase, it took 40 days for din to decrease and Hesed to increase. Measure for measure. Noah's no dummy. Knows what's going on. We're dummies to think they don't know what they're doing. When he saw the increase of Hesed, he thought to remove from him the one creature that represented din, because of its name, its color, and its nature. The raven, or in Hebrew, Ore. Ore means evil in it. It's from the root Erev, as in Erev Ra.
us.
The Erev Ra, Moses had to deal with them. Guess what? Noah had to deal with them. We're dealing with them right now. All right?
That's truth.
The Erev, this is the evening. Evening is dark, the time of din, black in color, no light of its own. The character is the animal. This animal characterizes is the symbol of that Hashem uses to proclaim judgment. Why is he running and returning? We talked about that. That's why I went through all that elaborate thing in the beginning. Because now he's got to reestablish the Noga. And the Noga has to be reestablished on the outside of the ark. Right? Because most of that had been stripped off. But the Noga is always from the aspect of the Klippa, from the aspect of Din, which is represented here by the raven.
So we saying when we covered it with pitch? Is that pitch, that thin layer?
Well, yes, and the pitch was black. That's why the pitch was black. But the raven is there. It's all the same. It's the same metaphor. Now we're using it because what are the animals? They're only a garment of Adam. What was the ark? It was the garment of Noah. Right? It's lay it on top of itself. You know, it's fractal geometry. So. The raven, the aspect of the Guvarot of Yesod. What is the Guvarot of Yesod? That's the female Guvarot. It's the female Yesod. Right? The din is released and the Hesed is coming in. The din will not be completely removed till all the waters are gone. So he would go out and he would come in. Go ahead. The raven is also giving Noah the countdown. Once, twice, 3 times a deluge. Right? Alright? So, he is to tell Noah about the time of the din. Now, why is the bird talking?
I wouldn't know unless it's has something to do with the angel. I mean, if the bird's an angel.
Why is the bird talking? Where are they at?
They're way up there.
What'd you say?
Way up there.
Well, again, if he's
Huh?
is in Syria.
Absolutely.
They're on a different level.
They're up in the Gan. Where, I mean, Adam talked to the animals talked to Adam.
Oh, I got
They're back. The animals can talk.
because they're elevated back up.
They're
before
back
their
up to,
fallen state.
and he's back up to the garment of light.
Yeah.
They're elevated to where we are.
Right, the animal.
Everything fell down a level. If we were over the angels and now we're under, right? And they were where we were, boom, 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 boom. All right? So of course the raven can talk. Why couldn't he? Now, and as Lonnie alluded to, the raven was the only creature that mated on the ark. And she became pregnant. Which is why Noah didn't care if the raven died. Because Noah could see, as Adam could see, the raven was pregnant and it was a boy. So Noah had 2. He didn't need 3. So he got rid of the raven. And got rid of the Guvarot. And that was the rest of the story, Lonnie. Lonnie asked me this question about, I don't know, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I said I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. All right. So, the Gemara says the raven gone to Noah gave a bad report. Then Elijah comes along, and the raven was on the dried up ground. What do we know about dried up ground? It's not contaminated. And he had to feed Elijah. There's the whole dance of Hostility in the Guvarot. The end is looped in the beginning. Because he was suspecting of his mate, the raven. This was a projection onto Noah. The nature of evil is always to expect another person of what they are doing. All right? So, if somebody is questioning you about, like the raven, are you cheating on me? What are they doing? They're projecting, which means they probably did the exact same thing they're accusing you of. Most people that accuse people of something did it. They're just trying to project it onto you. This is the case of the raven. The relationship between the man and the bird says the mind can't accept this. It's a very bizarre agadata, and it's a very deep secret. Of course, we've already figured that one out. The raven again is this harsh den. Was afraid that Noah would mitigate his den, and this whole zivug would conquer him. This is the secret of Achashverosh when he said to Haman in the story of Ruth at Purim, and you want to conquer the queen in my own home? It's the same iteration.
That's Esther.
Esther. I'm sorry, Esther, thank you. I said Ruth. Esther, Ruth, you know.
One of those women.
Probably,
You know,
probably the
well, I mean,
same
they're
Ruth.
probably the
Same
same
one.
person. Probably the
Yeah.
same person. But what are we seeing? We just see the same story play out again and again and again and again. We just plug different people in. I mean, Mordecai and Esther, you know, Adam and Hava. I mean, that's all it is.
No, Haman is the knockoff.
Haman is the Nakash. All right? It's the same thing.
Yeah, the king, yeah.
The king is
The Elohim.
the king, right? The root of the harsh den was in the heart of the raven to suspect the tzaddik, which the tzaddik is the justice, and he is the foundation of the whole world. The going and returning, he was checking on his mate, the Noga. He didn't want to lose his mate, but he did wait until the waters were dried up. This is the tension of the sages, that the sages say this is the tension, that the sign of the raven is den, like Sam checking on Lilith all the time. This is the story going on in the ark, the Sam and Lilith story, the Adam and Hava story, the story of creation, the sharing of the vessels. It's the story that's iterating itself. But what is the running and returning? Creating the Hashmal. This is rebuilding of the Merkavah, the divine chariot. Because the divine chariot's what runs through the klipot, right? It looks like he's waiting it out, that the raven's waiting and Moses is waiting it out, but they're not. They're rebuilding the whole connection between Hasidim and Guvarot and reestablishing the Noga in the Merkavah. I may need to explain myself more. To further explain, the original garment of Adam was the light that corresponds to the aspect of the soul as the nephesh. This light was like the fourth shell, which is attached to holiness, which is called Noga, or what we may call it the glow. Half of which is from holiness, half of which is from evil. Noah, the raven. When evil prevails over it, it becomes holy evil. Og.
Exactly.
When holiness prevails over it, the opposite happens. Eleazar. There are 4 levels of non-holiness. 3 levels are absolute evil. Only 1 is neutral. These are referred to in Ezekiel's vision as the stormy wind, the huge cloud, the flashing fire, and a glow. The 3 levels of evil are envisioned as three levels of shells surrounding an inedible fruit or holiness. In between the shells of the fruit is a fourth or softer shell that you can peel. Like if you peel the shell off of a orange, that little bitty stuff that's still on orange, you can eat that, but it ain't the orange. That's the no-go. And so in some cases it's edible, right? So anyway, now back to our story. So the whole Merkavah is being reestablished. All right, and this is the same thing that Moses did on the mountain. So, who is the raven in the story of Moses? Bilam. What did he want all the children of Israel to do? How was he trying to trap them?
Spill their seed.
Spill their seed. Go in the tents and have sex. So just like they could not have sex on the ark, and you can't have sex at Yom Kippur, when there's holy sex going on, ain't no lower sex going on, right? So what did Moses do? Y'all stand at the base of the mountain, and you are forbidden to go into your tents. And when I get back, the first thing he said, once he had to get rid of the raven, which was Giannis and Yamris and Bilam's son that made the golden calf and all that, with the incantations of the names, and destroyed the klipa, then he said, go into your tents. Reestablish Zivug, union. Rebuild your arks. Right? And it's really an ARC, not an ARK. You know what I mean? It's a current. So there's many many Tzimtzuns, and of course Noah was the ark on the mountain, just like Noah's ark. What does he do? He went on the mountain. Same thing. The mountains of Ararat, the mountains of Sinai, Sin. It's the same. It's the same place. Different name, same place. Are they going to find the place where the Ten Commandments were burnt on Mount Sinai? No. They're not there. They don't exist. Because, number one, we know the tablets came from the Evan Shtia in Jerusalem. So where were they? You can't look at it on a map linearly. It's here. Because at that time, they had reestablished creation. Had the golden calf not happened, it wouldn't have gone any further. But because it's following the iteration of the primordial worlds and the shattering of the vessels and the fall of Adam in the garden, fall of Noah and the fall of this and the fall of that, it just keeps on bump, 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 bump. Why? Because it has to go 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7. Shabbat comes whether you do anything or not. The Messianic era is coming whether you do anything or not. Now, can we make it come faster? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the whole secret. Did Moses take them out before 400 years? Yeah. Took them out at 210. Did they stay 400 years? Yeah. God said, I started counting back here at Abraham. So, the formula still works. Now, World War I, World War II, all these things are the same. It's the same thing. We see it in our own lifetime. Where's the safest place? In the ark. The safest place is in the eye of a hurricane. Where's the ark? It's Jerusalem. So, we will end it there. And next time when we meet, let's discuss the movie. And then the week after that, we'll start, and he sent out the dove. Well, we already know, we just got through dealing with Guvurot, now we're going to deal with Hesed. Right? So we're going to go down that. We're going to go that trail. So the Torah is amazing. The sages are amazing. Our class is amazing, and I will see y'all next Wednesday. Have a good Passover, and we'll discuss the movie. We'll just have a relaxed class next time, and I'll probably come up with something. But we'll discuss the movie from a Kabbalistic standpoint.